What's good? Shit. What's good, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video. I'll be reacting to 4 Halloween horror stories animated. So I'll be putting a link description down below. So you go check out the channel yourself. Check out this video, like, comment, subscribe. Press all the bells and whistles, all that good stuff. But without further ado, here we
Timothy O'Brien lived with his family in Deer Park, Texas, with his parents and little sister. His father, Ronald O'Brien, worked as an optician at Texas State Optical in Sharpston, Houston. He was the deacon at the Second Baptist Church, where he also sang in the choir. He was a trusted
he
member
is
of
serial
the
killer.
community, being placed in charge of the local bus program. On Halloween night of 1974, O'Brien took Timothy and his sister trick-or-treating in a Pasadena, Texas neighborhood, along with his neighbor and their 2 children. When the group knocked at a house but the occupants failed to answer, the children grew frustrated and skipped ahead to the next home in search of candy. When O'Brien caught up with them, they showed him 5 21-inch pixie sticks they had been given.
Oh boy.
When they returned home later in the evening, the young Timothy asked if he could eat one of the candy he and his friends had collected, opting for the huge pixie sticks he had prized so dearly. The young boy had trouble getting the powdered candy out of the plastic straw that contained it, so his father helped him loosen the sugary powder before offering it to him. When he ate it, Timothy remarked that the candy had a bitter flavor, so his father fetched him a glass of Kool-Aid to wash away the unpleasant taste.
Oh,
This
is
was
it
followed by
arsenic?
Timothy complaining that his stomach hurt.
Oh.
Ronald took his son to the bathroom, where he immediately began to violently vomit. But the discomfort did not ease, and soon the young boy was shaking and convulsing after collapsing to the bathroom floor.
Oh no, it's just that
Ronald held his son
It-
close, but
pixie
he soon
stick
went
killer
limp
or
in
some
his
shit.
arms. Timothy O'Brien died on his way to a nearby hospital, just less than an hour after consuming the candy. Timothy's autopsy revealed that the pixie stick he consumed was laced with a fatal dose of potassium cyanide.
Oh, potassium cyanide.
There was enough cyanide in his system to kill 3 to 4 fully grown adults. Timothy's death from the apparent poisoned Halloween candy prompted intense fear and paranoia in the local community. Numerous parents in Deer Park and the surrounding area promptly returned all of the candy their children acquired from trick-or-treating to the police, for fear it was laced with the same deadly.
I know this only happened, well, it's been reported once, and it was a guy who killed his son for insurance money. But it's pretty much, I know a lot of people, like experts and investigators and stuff, have said that happening has created a stigma or fear of parents thinking their kids are going to be like poisoned, or someone's going to put razor blades in their food or something like that, which, as far as I know, that has never been reported actually happening either. But that seemed to spark that whole, oh, don't eat any candy unless it's been, sealed. If the seal is broken, don't eat it. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. That's like buying a soda and you see its seals are broken. Like, I'll just eat this. Also, probably has something to do with I forget the what they called the person, but I think it was back in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Someone was replacing Tylenol pills with what was it? Was it arsenic or cyanide? Maybe it was cyanide. I can't remember, but they're replacing pills with that, and that's why they completely. I think it's Tylenol pulled. They recalled a bunch of bottles, and that made them change the whole way of how they do their packaging, and then they changed the the way the pills are and all this, the way the pills are made and stuff like that. And then other people follow suit with that. So it completely, change the way we take medication and how medication is
The poison.
packaged.
During police interviews, Ronald O'Brien claimed that he could not remember exactly which house gave the children the pixie stick. However, the group of adults and children had only visited 2 streets worth of homes due to heavy rain that had begun to fall that evening. This narrowed down the search considerably. Houses were searched, recent receipts seized as evidence. Yet suspicions were raised when it was discovered that none of the homes the group visited were giving out pixie sticks. Police accompanied Ronald O'Brien through the neighborhood and questioned several times. Each time, he led them to the home that the group had visited, but those occupants did not answer the door. There, Ronald claimed that he had in fact revisited the house before he caught up with the children. He claimed that the owner had cracked the door open, that he inside of the house was dark, and a hairy, scarred arm reached out and handed him all 5 of the 21-inch pixie sticks. Police discovered the homeowner in question was a man by the name of Courtney Melvin. Melvin was employed as an air traffic controller at nearby Hobby Airport and asserted under questioning that he did not get home from work until 11 p.m. on the night of the 31st.
Oh, don't tell me this is the actual
When nearly
story.
200 witnesses confirmed this,
Like
Courtney Melvin was rolled out as a
the
potential
husband,
suspect.
that father is
But
the
as their
actual killer.
investigation continued, police made a shocking discovery that turned all theories upside down. It was learned that Ronald O'Brien was actually more than $100,000.
Okay, this is
in debt
this is the
after a
story.
history of
Okay.
being unable to hold down a steady paying
I
job.
couldn't. Maybe that's the actual guy's
In the
name.
10
I
years
can't-
previous to the death of his son, Ronald had
Ronald
held a grand
O'Brien.
total of 21 jobs. During interviews with his current employers, police were told by Ronald's bosses that he was suspected of workplace theft from Texas State Optical and was dangerously close to being fired. His car was on the verge of being repossessed. He had defaulted on several bank loans, which had in turn led to the family home being foreclosed on. Although he presented himself as the clean-cut pastor, Ronald's life was a mess of lies and deceit. It was discovered that
Said he
Ronald
was a
O'Brien
creep.
had taken out life insurance policies on his children in the months preceding the poisoning. One $10,000 policy with 2 additional $20,000 policies on both children. This was in spite of the advice given by the insurance agencies not to do so. When asked, Deneen O'Brien, the mother of Timothy and Ronald's wife, claimed she was completely unaware of any insurance policies on her children's lives. The final clue came when police learned that Ronald O'Brien had stopped by a chemical supply store in Houston and asked to purchase cyanide. However, he left empty-handed when he learned the smallest amount purchasable was 5 pounds. Despite repeatedly protesting his own innocence, O'Brien was now a major suspect. Texas police never did find out just where or when Ronald O'Brien had bought the cyanide that he used on his son. But regardless, on November 5th, 1974, he was arrested for Timothy's murder. Ronald was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder, given that the other children were in extreme danger of consuming the poison intended for Timothy. He entered a plea of not guilty to all 5 counts. During the trial, a chemist who was familiar with O'Brien claimed
All this trying to
he
keep
had
up
contacted him the
appearances.
previous summer regarding lethal dosages of cyanide. Another chemist took the stand testifying that Ronald had asked him how he could go about purchasing the deadly chemical. Additionally, Ronald's friends and coworkers also said that in the months preceding Timothy's death, Ronald had shown an unusual interest in cyanide and spoke about how much it would take to end a person's life. Those that attended Timothy's funeral told the court how Ronald had casually talked of taking a long vacation, only possible through the money accrued from Timothy's life insurance policies. O'Brien continued to maintain his innocence
he was
throughout
talking
the
about
trial.
taking that money and then
Bizarrely,
skipping town.
His defense hinged on the decades-old urban legend of the Mad Poisoner, who was purported to hand out Halloween candy laced with needles, broken glass, razor blades, or poison. Despite absolutely no documentation of such malice, these stories have persisted among those with a rich imagination. On June 3rd, 1975, a jury took just 46 minutes to find O'Brien guilty of capital murder. The jury then took just over an hour to sentence him to death. Shortly after he was convicted, his wife filed for divorce. She later remarried, and her new husband adopted their surviving daughter, Elizabeth. The case and subsequent trial garnered national attention, and the press gave Ronald O'Brien a nickname I'm sure you'll all
Pixie
be
stick
familiar
killer,
with:
is that what it was?
the Candyman.
Oh, the Candyman. Okay. That's where that legend comes from, I think. Well, part of it.
Halloween used to be my favorite time of the year. I was kind of a horror freak. I loved horror novels, movies, and games.
It's funny, Halloween became more my favorite time of the year when I became an adult and I started seeing women dress very provocatively. And I was like, yeah, this is my new favorite holiday. Shed your inhibitions. Give in.
I spent hours absorbing all the YouTube creepypasta stories I could find. But that all changed one
Shit.
Halloween night when
I'm a horrible
myself and a
person.
few friends found something that would change our lives forever. This is the story of the Dead House. I always did love that era of chaos that presents on Halloween night. That twisted, festive feeling that adds a
Nice
spark of
costume. He's
excitement to
wearing
an
a
otherwise
shirt that's
dark
an
and dreary time
HP
of the
on
year.
it. Got a cape
We were too old to be
and
trick-or-treating,
drew a
but we still
fucking
wanted to
lightning
wander the
bolt
streets
scar on
and
his
soak up the
forehead.
atmosphere. Besides, there's a lot you can get away with in costume, especially when you pour your bottle of adult beverage into a Mountain Dew bottle and label it Spooky Juice. Our buddy Spike had comprehensively won our internal costume contest with his own homemade proton pack and Ghostbusters jumpsuit.
Because
He
he
spent
actually
weeks
put
on
some
it,
effort
watching
into
little
it.
YouTube painting tutorials and binge watching the movies for minor details. It looked amazing, and he wasn't about to miss out on the opportunity to show the thing off. So off we went, wandering around the neighborhood
Y'all
and
look
eating
really,
store-bought
really
candy.
enthused.
Since we were way too old to be trick-or-treating, part of the fun of these Halloween walkabouts was seeing the spectacular ways that fellow Halloween enthusiasts had decorated their houses. Over the years, it became something of a competition, and each year the decorations became more and more elaborate. I remember one family had gone as far as digging a small pit in their front lawn. They put some red lights in there, then covered the thing over with wooden boards that were complete with fake zombie fingers reaching out between the slats. It looked amazing, and we found ourselves joining a gaggle of parents and taking selfies with the chillingly original decoration. We saw some pretty impressive stuff that evening, from fake bodies hanging from trees to chained-up dogs that had been dressed up as adorable little hounds. But nothing caught our attention like the house at the end of Bachman Street. So a lot of you have heard of these hell houses that crop up around Halloween every year. The most infamous being these guerrilla operations where people can make a few bucks while indulging in a little of the Halloween spirit. So when you saw the house
They
at
call
the
them
end of
hell
Bachman Street
houses?
with its doors wide open, we figured it was just part of the display. A couple was heading away from the house, looking pretty scared, so we asked them what the deal was with the front door being left open. "Oh man, they really went all out this year," one of the pair said. "It's so realistic in there. We left a few dollars on the table as a thank you. There's no tip jar anywhere, so you guys gotta see it though." On that, we agreed. Something that was actually scary, right here in our own neighborhood? We had to see it. We studied the house intently as we wandered down the street towards it. The facade was barely decorated
Holding that
compared to
thing
the
like
others
gonna
we'd seen.
shoot it.
Just a carved pumpkin and a few plastic hanging skeletons were all we could see on approach. But there was something odd about the way the cars were parked in the driveway. Something weirdly chaotic. Anyway, we wander up to the front door, peering inside before entering. But again, there doesn't seem to be any extensive decoration on the inside either. That all changes once we enter the kitchen. One of the
Oh,
dining
what the
chairs was
fuck?
dripping with gore. Ropes around the armrests hanging freely as they'd been cut away from someone's arms. Laid on the table nearby were all kinds of bloody kitchen utensils, some still clogged with shredded flesh. Flies buzzed around us, landing on the body and various bloodstains around the room. "Wow," one of us said softly. "You can see where they use corn syrup to make the blood. Houseflies love that stuff." "How did they get that kind of stink up in there?"
Oh
another
fuck!
asked.
We ain't no damn corn
But we didn't put
syrup.
too much thought into it. We were so overwhelmed and impressed that we just carried on moving through the house. The living room was somehow even more disturbing than the kitchen. Sat on a small, dark wood coffee table was a kind of homemade doll. It was a cluster of roots and twigs, all bound and woven together with reeds and dry grass. The face of the thing was made of clay, a single shiny stone pushed into it, resembling a kind of cyclopean eye. Arranged around it in a perfect circle were severed fingers, toes, and plucked out eyes. There was also a cluster of dollar bills from the couple's recent visit. I took out my wallet, taking out a few old singles before asking around to see if my buddies had anything to leave as a kind of thank you. There must have been about $14 in ones and twos in my hand by the time I let it drop onto the coffee table. "Oh, come on. Let's see the upstairs, then get out of here. This place is giving me the creeps," I said. My buddies wouldn't let me hear the end of it. Scared by a family-run hell house. What an idiot. But when we saw the kids' bedroom,
Whoa! What
they were
the
scared too.
fuck?
Inside, sitting among a carpet of stuffies and kids' toys, was a man. At first, all we could see was the back of him. He had long, thin gray
Did no
hair
one
and
ever go
had somehow
upstairs?
fit himself into a little girl's pink, frilly nightgown. We all froze in the doorway, staring wide-eyed as the creepy-looking old guy just sat there, playing with the toys, putting on little childish voices as he played at making them talk to one another. It was one of the most disturbing things I'd ever seen in my entire life. Whoever had thought that character up must have had one seriously disturbed imagination. The man turned still as a statue for a moment, sensing our presence behind him. When we turned, we saw his milky white eyes and blackening teeth and ran for the door. We weren't exactly terrified, but we were still spooked and laughing nervously to ourselves as we bounded back into the street outside. But as we began to walk back out of the cul-de-sac road,
Where's the other end?
blue and red lights began to flash before our eyes. It was the cops, screaming down past us down the street before rushing into the house we'd just left. There was nothing remotely fake about that house. The old man was an escaped psychiatric patient who had lived in the house as a child. The newspapers said he busted out of the institution he was being held in before he walked 30 miles into town back to his childhood home. He must have thought the people living there were intruders. At knife
Damn.
point, he tied them up and tortured them till he finished them. We never found out what happened to the kids inside the house, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I could handle it.
Shit. What's with all these stories with
In
orphans?
the early afternoon
People
of
getting
Halloween
orphaned
in
and shit.
2010, Ohio resident Devin Griffin was returning home after a brisk Sunday morning of singing in his local church's choir. He never missed a Sunday service, and this All Hallows Eve would be no exception. After walking through the front door of his family home, the
It's funny 'cause
16-year-old
Halloween
trudged
is
up
on
to his
Sunday
bedroom
this
to
year.
relax and play video games. It was something of a routine for him. Getting up early on a Sunday meant a guilt-free afternoon of online gaming with his friends. After a few hours of gaming, Devin took a quick break to grab a snack, but began to notice something unusual about the household. It was just past 1:30 in the afternoon when Devin started to wonder where his family was. His mother, Susan Lisk, worked
They
night shifts,
dead.
so it wasn't entirely unusual for her to sleep late into the morning. But never did she stay in bed until the early afternoon. Out of curiosity, Devin wandered downstairs
They're all
from his
dead
attic room
from
and knocked on the door of
carbon
the family's
monoxide
home's
poison.
master bedroom. There was no answer, but that didn't stop him. Devin opened the door to see his mother lying in bed next to his stepfather, William Lisk Sr. A maroon comforter was pulled over their heads. In a soft voice, Devin began to ask if they were planning on getting out of bed anytime soon. Again, there was no response. He walked around to her side of the bed and saw his mother's foot jutting out from underneath the goose-down duvet. He tapped on it. Again, no response. As Devin continued to talk, he instinctually pulled down the covers a little. It was her pillow. It was soaked with blood. For a moment or two, Devin could not compute what he was seeing.
Oh,
He
shit.
later told detectives that he thought it was just some Halloween prank, albeit one done in extremely bad taste. But as he continued to look, he saw the large wound in her neck, dark clots of blood forming around it. Devin ran screaming from the house, frantically begging neighbors to summon emergency medical services. Upon his arrival, Ottawa County Sheriff Bob Bratton said
Coming.
53-year-old William
It's
Lisk,
good.
his 46-year-old wife Susan Lisk, as well as her 23-year-old son Derek Griffin, were all found murdered.
Damn.
A preliminary
I guess he was
coroner's
an
exam
addict,
had
so he didn't-
indicated that their deaths were caused either by gunshot
He
or a
didn't
blunt
hear
object.
any of that.
A suspect identified as 24-year-old William Lisk Jr., thought to be the son of the murdered father from his previous marriage, was arrested almost 200 miles away and was initially charged with only one count of murder in the first degree. After receiving a tip that the suspect killer would be hiding out in a log cabin owned by a distant family member, Deputy Michael Balash was ordered to pay the cabin a visit. Upon his arrival, the deputy spotted a white Ford pickup truck, matching the description given of the vehicle Lisk Jr. would be driving. When he approached the man's residence, it's reported that after Lisk Jr. casually walked out of the brown single-story cabin, still smoking a cigarette as he leaned against a porch post. Deputy Balash then pulled in with gun drawn, took
Hey,
Lisk
get
to the
your
ground,
punk
and held
ass
him
to
at
the ground.
gunpoint until backup arrived to
This
assist
dude
with
just look
handcuffing the
crazy.
suspect.
It took you so
Carroll
long.
County Sheriff Dale Williams
Damn,
said that evidence was
cigarette
found
in
on the
his mouth.
suspect that also indicated that he was guilty of killing his stepmother and stepbrother.
Sheesh. Damn.
But to those that knew William
fucking
Lisk Jr.,
psychopath.
the murders hardly came as a surprise.
Yeah, he's a psychopath.
As
People know
early
it
as
too.
2002, his father Bill had called law enforcement on more than one occasion because the then 16-year-old had threatened to harm himself. The boy was
That's
on
a
house
cell
arrest
phone?
at the time for other offenses. According to police records, Lisk Jr. proceeded to attack the responding officers when they arrived,
Man, how they not
and
just
later
shoot
faced
his ass?
charges in juvenile court of assault on a peaceful officer. Then, in October 2004, Lisk Jr. got into a violent altercation with his stepmother and struck her hard into the chest. 2 months later, police charged him with felonious assault and robbery for allegedly hitting his stepmother, Susan, with a coffee cup before stealing her car keys. He was found incompetent to stand trial on those charges, which were eventually dropped.
It does.
Lisk Jr. had at least
Mean,
3 more
crazy
encounters
look on
with
his
police
face.
after he moved to a group home for mental health patients. Among those incidents was a physical fight between Lisk Jr. and his father after Bill Lisk drove to the group home to pick him up. In the immediate aftermath, police struggled to establish a clear motive for the killings. It was clear from the records that Lisk Jr. had repeated run-ins with law enforcement that included jail time and mental health treatment. But what exactly drove the young man to commit such an act of senseless cruelty and malice to his own parents? In the course of the investigation, it came to light that Susan Lisk had filed a police report against her stepson, claiming that he had assaulted her. The report was filed less than a month before her murder. It is entirely possible that this had been the final straw for Lisk Jr.'s father. His past behavior and drug use had been antisocial to say the least, but William Sr. had fought time and
These
time.
motherfuckers in the front yard, like shooting up, like heroin or what? Oh, with a cigarette. in his- What the fuck?
Again, to prevent his son becoming trapped in a cycle of addiction and incarceration.
He's already
However,
mentally like
to
something's
assault
wrong
his
with
own
him.
stepmother was without a
He
doubt a
need
bridge too far.
intense
In court,
like
List
care,
Jr. admitted he was
mental
guilty of all
care.
3 counts of murder in the first degree.
Damn, does he ever take that
The
cap
judge
off?
then quickly sentenced him to serve 3 life sentences with no chance of parole. Without shedding a tear, List told a courtroom filled with those who knew and loved his father, stepmother, and stepbrother that he could not explain why he brutally murdered them on that fateful
It's
Halloween.
like I'm crazy. His hair is the same
I
color
love
as
my dad very
jumpsuit.
much, and it makes me feel sick every time I think about what I did. List said, I can't really explain why this all had to happen, but I think most of all of it had to do with my mental illness.
He sounded like he trying to
List
get put in a
Jr.'s defense
hospital
attorney
rather
said it
than
was
in
ridiculous
prison.
that his client could be declared legally sane, especially when he had a history of poor mental health. He said it's unknown whether Lisk was taking the medication that was prescribed for his schizoaffective disorder on the night of the
Oh, he's
murders,
schizophrenic?
although he had been drinking alcohol. Clearly, he
That don't
should have
help.
not been provided alcohol, something that was a constant problem in his life. The mixture of alcohol and his mental illness. List Jr.'s sister, Lisa Curl, told the court that her family's lives had been changed forever. We just don't understand how something like this could happen. You see stuff like this on TV and think it will never happen to your family. You love someone so much and then they take something away from you. I just don't know how you could do it when he loved you so much. On March 31st
Oh,
of
he killed himself?
2015, William List Jr. was found dead in his cell at Ross Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio, from a self-inflicted injury. He was 29 years old.
Damn. Yeah, he was real fucked up.
Years ago now, a few mates and me had managed to secure an invite to a Halloween house party. We didn't really know anyone else there, having only secured the invite because one of us worked with a girl whose student house it was. But since it was literally the only house party we could actually get into, we weren't arguing. A big thing about house parties is the older you get, the harder it is to find a good one. Most people
Yeah,
make
that's
their
true.
big house party mistake earlier in life and vow never ever to have one again. So the idea of one big hurrah before we started on that late 20s, early 30s quiet drinks bollocks was wildly appealing.
Quiet drinks.
We agreed to meet up in my flat for some pre-drinks and get changed into our
Yeah, you
various
start going to
costumes.
lounges instead
Fancy
of clubs
dress was
and
a
shit.
must, according to our mate's
Well, I
colleague.
don't know, because I know people
You have
go to
never
clubs,
seen
say,
such
early
awful
40s.
Halloween costumes in all your life.
when I was in my
One lad
20s.
just bought a wig and badly applied his mum's makeup, claiming to
Okay.
be Frankenfurter.
Okay,
from
I
Rocky
thought
Horror
that's who
Picture
that
Show.
was, Frankenfurter.
But without having the
I
stones
couldn't remember
to
the
rent
name.
the suspenders and corset, he just looked like he was in the middle of a bad sex change. Another fellow
Okay.
just threw on some old army cadet gear so he could be a soldier or whatever.
It's a
But it
swat.
had been a good couple of years since he'd last put it on, and he was considerably wider around the waist. So what I suppose was meant to be intimidating just ended up looking completely ridiculous. The winner, without a doubt, was our mate Danny, who'd actually
shit.
pulled off a pretty convincing Michael Myers costume. So for those that don't know, the mask used in the film Halloween is actually a Captain Kirk Star Trek mask that
Yeah.
the prop guys roughed up a little. Yep, one of the most iconic images in horror comes from a crummy piece of sci-fi merch. Crazy, right? Anyway, Danny had actually managed to get his hands on a replica of said mask from his older brother, who was and is something of a horror freak. Then all he had to do was borrow a
Freak?
set of his dad's old mechanic overalls, get hold of a plastic butcher's knife, and he actually looked the real deal. So after we filled our bellies full of cheap supermarket lager, we make
Okay,
a
who
move
the fuck
for
are
the
you, the
house party.
Joker?
The place the party was at was only like 5 to 10 minute walk from my flat, so we decided to walk around to soak up a bit of the Halloween
Where's
atmosphere.
the SWAT
what I was
army
expecting.
guy? Whatever.
Maybe a few rooms full of people chatting away with a bit of music playing meekly in a back room. But the closer we got to the right street, the more we could hear this thumping bass sound drifting through the air. Imagine if that was the party we're going to, one of us joked. But it was the party. We're in the middle of this actual residential area, All of the other houses are settled in for the night, and there's this one house with its door wide open, people in costume wandering in and out. These colored lights, a smoke machine, even an actual bloody DJ set up in a bedroom with speakers all through the house. Enjoy it while it lasts, boys. I can guarantee you the police are on their way. Right
Okay.
now, one of us said. Laughing, we piled into the house and started mingling with complete strangers.
Don't be a party
I won't deny
pooper.
it. They might have been posh kids from down south, but they knew how to throw a party. They actually laughed at us
Usually
when
people
they
down
realized we
south,
brought
they the
our own
ones know
beer.
how to throw a party.
The host taking us into the back garden to show us these
If the
buckets
police
full of
don't
beer
get
and
called,
ice
then it
water.
wasn't a good
We
party.
were welcome to drink as much as we liked. In exchange, we put our room temperature cans into their fridge as a kind of communal offering. Yeah, we met a few snobs sneering with the "who invited you" look in our direction, but mostly people were lovely, especially
Like, who
when they found
invited
out
you?
we brought a special kind of tobacco with us.
Dick.
We drank long into the night somehow. The police didn't actually turn up for the first few hours. They must have been busy with the other more criminal stuff, but eventually turn up they did. But honestly, it was all part of the experience. It's not a true house party unless the busybodies show up.
See,
They were actually pretty cool about the whole thing, too. They didn't shout, they didn't stop, search, or arrest anyone. They just told us there'd been a noise complaint and we had to clear out if we didn't leave there. They even laughed when someone in the crowd anonymously shouted, "Are you the male strippers we hired?" And this is where the story gets weird. So, throughout the party, our mate Danny had been kind of in character, walking silently and scarily into rooms, moving his head all slow as he looked around, just like Michael Myers. He'd then break into some weird dance and have people laughing, but it's important to know that he seemed to be enjoying playing the part. Anyway, we all
It'd be
managed to
funny
find
that's
each
not
other
him.
in the throngs of people outside, despite being absolutely smashed. Only, we're not exactly ready to call it a night. So we decide to walk quite a bit of
I
our
bet
way
that's
to
not him.
visit the 24-hour
Somebody
off
else.
license to buy more booze. So the whole way, Danny doesn't say a word. It might be worth
It's not
mentioning that
Danny.
he isn't the most talkative when he sobers, so when he's angry, he pretty much says nothing at all.
Why would he be angry?
He just does his signature wheeze laugh when anything amusing happens. So just as we're outside the off license, queuing by the little hatch to get
It's not
served,
even the same knife.
I noticed something unusual about Danny's toy butcher knife. I swear he had a fake one at the
Yeah,
start of
there's.
the night, but right then I noticed the knife in his hand is bloody real. Before the fellow in the offie notices and calls the police thinking it's real, I slowly take the knife out of his hand, having a sort of mini freak out that the bell end would be daft enough to steal a real knife from the house party. Right then, like something out of a movie, my phone starts going in my pocket. I pull it out and on the screen is the name, Danny. Now, I'm still bladdered at this point, so my first thought is that Danny lost his phone or something, and someone is calling my number, the last person he'd call, to let them know where to safely find it. So I answer with something like, "Yeah, I know. My mate's an idiot. I hope he's not stolen anything else." But the voice on the other end is Danny. Definitely Danny asking where we've gone. He passed out in the bathroom of that student's house and had only just been kicked out of. Cue an actual bloody freakout as I point the knife at this total bloody stranger.
He just jumped to
and
the
demand
next
know
scene. He
who they
like,
are.
what the fuck is going on?
It all hits me at once. The guy had gloves on. Danny didn't. The strange guy had actual boots on. Danny just had black trainers. My mates have no idea what's going
Where
on.
the fuck was the
As
SWAT
far
dude
as they
at?
know, I'm on the verge of ending one of our closest mates' lives. But when they too realize what's going on, they too start freaking
Oh
out
shit,
on
he
the
got
fella,
on boots.
asking him what he was planning on doing with that knife, following us halfway around
And
town.
he
with
let
the
you
proper
just
creep.
take the knife out of his hand.
The lad ended up laying it down the street as we chased him.
All that.
I have no idea what we were going to do, but we were angry and scared. So I'm sort of glad we didn't catch up to him.
Motherfucker, you can't catch no crackhead. Just he just started hauling ass. That guy didn't really know what he wanted to do. He like let you take the knife out of his hand. He just walking with y'all and then let you take the knife out of his hand. The next thing he's like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, but I saw some. It was a couple days ago. Somebody was out walking because I guess maybe because of the pandemic or whatever, people they just can't wait to get out and do some like Halloween type shit. And I saw somebody down the street. They've like repaired all the street lights on my street because before one of the street lights was broken. Another one was like it would flicker a lot and then it would be real dim. And most of the other ones worked fine. But they replaced the lights with I guess they replaced them during the day when I'm probably asleep because I work nights. But and it must have done it. They had done it. Must have done it the day before because I just noticed it that night because I was like, what the fuck? Like why did it was so much? It was so much brighter. They replaced all the lights with like it looked like LED type lights, so it was way brighter out. All the lights work, no none flickering. And I saw something like a silhouette of a person because my road goes down and it curves going like that way. And I could see someone standing just past one of the lights on like the last house on my street before you hit like a playground and a baseball field. And he was just standing there. And I walked out and I was moving some, I'm having a fence put in. And I was moving some, they had put concrete in my driveway, like bags of concrete, a powder, concrete. And I was moving them because I got landscaping coming. It was too close to the grass for the landscapers to do their job. So I had to move it. And I was out there, I'm out there sweating like shit, out of breath. I was like, man, I need to start doing cardio again. I'm getting out of shape. And I just happened to look down the street and just somebody just standing there, not moving, by themselves. And all you see is a silhouette. And I was just like, and I was like, hey, you be looking, and they're so far away, and it's like, it's dark. Plus, they like pass the light, so you can't really see them, but you can see their silhouette. And I could see his silhouette because he was in between another street light, so I could see like it was a light. And he was in between another street light, so I could see like his silhouette. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, are they facing me?" And I was trying to like look like around my neighbor's house without being out too far where they could see me. So I'm like, but I know I've been walking back and forth in my driveway, so I knew they had seen me. But I didn't want them to see like that I had noticed them. And all of a sudden, I saw this motherfucker like he started walking, and then he stopped, and I was just like, hey, I said whatever. And then I finished what I was doing. I finished moving like the last few bags. And when I walked back, because I had a hole because some of the fucking bags ripped open because they've been out there for so long. The guy doing the damn fence taking his sweet time because he works a regular job. And he's trying to run a fencing business at the same time, but he can't. He work a 9 to 5, So and he don't come over every day, so it's taking him forever. And some of the bags got wet, even though they like kind of waterproof, but they shouldn't be like submerged in water. One of them just ripped open while I was moving it. Well, actually, a few of them ripped open. And when I finally moved him over, I looked over. This dude had moved from where he was at. He instead of being on the last house on a curve, he was about 3 houses towards me now, and he just standing there. And I know he noticed me now. I was like, all right. And I closed the garage. I just walked in the house, closed my door, locked everything. Everything's always locked in my house. Like I unlock windows when I open them, and then as soon as I close, I lock it. Like that's come from living in a, let's just say, less desirable areas when I growing up. So, and I could have sworn because I cut off all my light. I cut off the lights downstairs, so you couldn't see me in my house looking out. And I was looking out. I could have sworn I saw somebody like walk up to my neighbor's house because I can't in my house. I can't see really good past my neighbor's house. I can only see up to a certain point. And it looked like they walked out, but they were doing the same thing I was doing, like trying to hide on the side of my neighbor's house and look out. And they were doing that, but they were doing it from that side, looking this way. And I was like, was that some move? I must have stood there in the window looking out for like, shit, I don't know, like 30, maybe 40 minutes. Cause like, they walking down here. Like, they gonna come in, cause I was like, I'm gonna be ready for your ass. And it's quiet, and so I turn my alarm on. So you try to break in, you gonna set off. You gonna unless you can somehow get on the second floor and break into the window. If you try to get through any window in here, unless you break the front window, but you try to get like through a door or any of the like kitchen windows or downstairs windows, something like that, or the den window, your ass is the alarm won't go off. But didn't see them comes, and I was like, maybe I didn't see what I saw. You know, then you start questioning yourself. You know, and I was like, whatever. But that shit, like, it was like some Michael Myers type shit, just where they just standing there motionless, and then you just see, especially like I said at night, all you see is a silhouette. It's like, I had my weapons. Up here, I had my machete. Then I had a sword downstairs. It's not sharp, but it it has a thin edge. So if I swing it hard enough, I can chop. It was like an axe instead of a sword. I had my retractable baton. I had a couple knives on me. Like I was about to say, we gonna go to war. You try to come up back. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You'll know if I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.